Hailing from the alternate universe of Earth 1610, the Ultimates were a superhero team that can be likened to the Avengers in the mainstream universe. And just like its counterpart, this team was founded by Nick Fury, who then convinced Captain America to lead them. While the team included members such as Iron Man, Thor, and Wasp, they eventually recruited more members such as Black Panther, Black Widow, Ant-Man, and so on. The Ultimates' history is quite extensive, but today, we will specifically be focusing on the Ultimate Black Panther and tell you all about his origins and story arc. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is the Ultimate Black Panther? Well, Ultimate Black Panther made his first appearance in a flashback in Ultimate Origins number 5. Most of his origins were revealed in Ultimate Captain America Annual number 1 in 2008. In the first part of this comic issue titled Favorite Son, T'Challa appears as the Prince of Wakanda and the youngest son of King T'Chaka. While his elder brother, M'Baku, was rightfully in line to inherit the throne, T'Challa insisted on participating in the traditional and legendary Black Panther trial in his place so that he could prove himself as a warrior. The battle involved him fighting against a Black Panther, and young T'Challa ended up losing when the Panther struck him down by the throat. Gravely injured, T'Challa fell on the battlefield, while M'Baku rushed to carry him to their father's home to heal. He remained in surgery for about 17 hours, but T'Chaka's resources still fell short when it came to reviving him. In a moment of desperation, T'Chaka decided to go against tradition and finally resorted to asking for help from the United States. He approached the Weapon X program, which successfully saved T'Challa's life by enhancing his physiology. He underwent a procedure that helped him gain retractable metal claws just like Wolverine, but no matter what they tried, they failed to restore his ability to speak. Over the years, S.H.I.E.L.D. targeted the Weapon X program, and Nick Fury decided to show T'Challa some mercy and take him in. When T'Chaka reached out to Fury about his son, Fury declared that T'Challa was now the government's property, and even blamed T'Chaka for all his injuries. He further stressed that they could not let T'Challa return to his father's custody and refused to send T'Challa back even when he expressed his desire to return home. As the comic continues in a second part titled Training Day, Nick Fury assesses T'Challa, or Black Panther, and decides that he is fit to undergo training. He soon summoned Captain America and told him to train T'Challa so that he was fit to join the Ultimates. While Captain America was more than up for the job, he could not bring himself to work with a new member without knowing anything about his background. He decided to ask Fury, who remained deceptive about the Black Panther's true story, and instead came up with a bunch of theories about his origins and scars. He briefly mentioned T'Challa's involvement with the Weapon X program and declared that this information is classified. While training him, Captain America finally found a way to communicate with T'Challa by writing things down, and he learned all about his history. He further realized that T'Challa wanted nothing more than to reunite with his father and return to Wakanda, and he devised a plan to help him get back home. Since the Ultimates team had not met him yet, Captain America realized that he was the only one who knew his true identity. He then offered to take his place and pose as the Black Panther, at least until T'Challa pays a visit back home. As they converse, Captain America's tone suggests this is just a temporary arrangement, but T'Challa still seems quite grateful for any time he could spend in Wakanda. Over the course of his story arc, T'Challa eventually worked with the new Ultimates as well, and helped them stop Loki before realizing that he no longer wanted to be associated with a group. The history of the new Ultimate Black Panther. Ultimate Black Panther's journey is further explored in an ongoing comic series by Brian Edward Hill and Stefano Caselli, which debuted quite recently in February 2024. The first comic issue kicks off with Wakandan spies Anan and Faxel as they observe Lord Khonshu conquer several places in West Africa. While these spies hurry back to Wakanda to inform their king about it, T'Challa has seemingly disturbing nightmares and decides to talk to his father, T'Chaka, about them. T'Chaka believes that these nightmares are a sign from the gods and that T'Challa should dig deeper to understand what they are trying to tell him, instead of running away from them. He further advises him to seek the Divine Mother of their religious order, the Vodou Khan, in the hopes that she would give him some counsel. While T'Challa seems quite skeptical about this religious order and its superstitious practices, T'Chaka somehow convinces him to give this a try. and he soon finds himself in front of Matron Imala, the Divine Mother. Imala tells T'Challa that their order has also detected some enemy presence right outside the borders of their kingdom, and that his dreams must be a warning from Wakanda's gods. She further advises him against trusting anyone, while Anan and Faxel return to Wakanda and inform T'Challa about Lord Khonshu and Ras tyranny. T'Challa considers the situation for some time before deciding to send more forces to spy on Khonshu and Ra, instead of taking direct action. On the other hand, Princess Shuri puts forth an opposing view and stresses the importance of taking direct action since, many lives are already lost in West Africa. After a lot of back and forth, Queen Okoye decides that T'Challa's plan is more viable, especially since the land of Wakanda still remains a secret to the outside world. While they are equipped with weapons to fend for their kingdom in the face of an attack, they decide it's better not to get directly involved, while Khonshu and Ra continue to wreak havoc with their army of Moon Knight soldiers. As the comic shifts to these attacks, we see Killmonger and Wind Rider fighting against their tyranny, while T'Challa participates in an annual celebration in Wakanda with his father. In an unfortunate turn of events, Khonshu and Ra's evil seemed to have seeped into Wakanda already, as a suicide bomber appeared at the event and detonated a bomb attached to her chest. While T'Chaka urged T'Challa to run away and activate his Panther habit, he could not save himself and ended up bearing the brunt of the attack. As the comic came to an end, T'Challa saw his father's dead body and summoned his entire family to declare that they will go to war against the Moon Knight. In the second issue of the comics, T'Challa assumes the role of an authoritarian leader in the hopes of weeding out any disloyal subjects in Wakanda. He often ends up arresting or interrogating the innocent, while Shuri and the other members of the royal family try to make him understand that he is being irrational. They try to make him understand that his grief is making him act like this, and his wife, Okoye, finally talks some sense to him. She tells him that he must step up to be someone who can protect Wakanda, which would also be the best way for him to honor his father. He soon decides to visit the temple of the Voodoo Khan, but not before she warns him against trusting their prophecies. Soon enough, T'Challa makes his way to the temple to meet Matron Imala, who tells him about a vision that they had about it. Imala reveals that the vision talked about him meeting a woman of light who would also give him an heir after fighting in a war with him. T'Challa wonders whether Queen Okoye would give him an heir, while Imala asks him if he views her as his light. T'Challa reverts by saying that Okoye keeps him sane and that he does not wish to be involved in any kind of war. As the story progresses, chaos breaks out in Wakanda, while a mysterious spy reports to Khonshu and Ra about any new developments in the Secret Kingdom. While this spy seems keen on bringing about T'Challa's downfall, Khonshu and Ra have a hard time trusting him, but are left with no choice but to work with him. Meanwhile, T'Challa figures out that the Moon Knight seem to be after their vibranium resources, and he seems quite keen on finding out who is betraying their kingdom. Eventually, he takes matters into his own hands and declares that he will visit the Moon Knight's secret hiding place alone, while asking his loyal soldiers to stay back and protect his wife and sister. As the comic comes to an end, T'Challa finds himself in a tough spot as he faces a bunch of Moon Knights alone, but he is somehow rescued by the arrival of Storm, a woman made of light. In the third issue, T'Challa has a better look at his saviors, including Killmonger and Storm, who bring him along and even cook up a meal together. While Killmonger comments on how Wakanda must be missing their king, T'Challa replies by saying that he must fulfill his duty and, protect his citizens by fighting these wars and defeating any incoming threats. As they converse, T'Challa learns that Killmonger used to be a son of Wakanda, but he had little interest in that life, so he eventually decided to leave. As the scene shifts, Killmonger takes T'Challa to a secret cave filled with vibranium stores, and T'Challa realizes that his powers have started malfunctioning in the presence of so much vibranium. However, Killmonger assures him that Storm's power will help them make their way through the place, and she soon addresses T'Challa and tells him to unlearn everything he has learned so far. She then takes them to a place beyond the regular realms of Wakanda, and the comic ends as T'Challa faces a gigantic magical sphere that seems to be radiating pure energy. The next issue kicks off with Queen Okoye addressing the citizens of Wakanda and asserting that she knows about T'Challa's whereabouts. She tells them to have some faith in him, while she herself has no idea whether he's safe. But, however, she trusts him with all her heart and believes that they will all be okay as long as they have faith in their king. As the issue progresses, the royal family is attacked by a Dora Milaje assailant who tries to come for Queen Okoye, but ends up facing T'Challa, who has finally returned home. While Shuri chases after this intruder, T'Challa steps in to save her and soon notices that the attacker's body has completely disintegrated. They realize that the Dora Milaje has also been compromised by the Moon Knight, while the scene shifts to Khonshu and Ra as they make plans for Wakanda's downfall. Finally, we also see T'Challa reuniting with the furious Okoye, who confronts her husband and demands that he let her in on his plans from now on. She declares that there must be no secrets between them, and T'Challa tries to tell her that they cannot trust anyone since they haven't figured out the traitor among them. He then asks her to meet him at a secret spot, where he introduces her to his circle of force, which consists of Storm, Killmonger, and Shuri. T'Challa declares that the 5 of them, including Okoye, are the only ones who can be trusted in this fight against the Moon Knight as this issue comes to an end. The 5th issue of the series was released just last week, and it kickstarted with T'Challa finally taking Shuri and Okoye to the secret cave with the magical green orb. They try to figure out how the orb works, and they finally place some vibranium near it and inject it with energy when they discover that it can cause accelerated growth in organic material. Now that they finally have a use for it, T'Challa realizes why Khonshu and Ra want to get their hands on it, but he still struggles to understand the orb properly. He decides to visit Matron Imala in case she knows something more, and she finally tells him all about the 2 meteors that had crashed on Earth several years ago. One of them was made of vibranium, a powerful, unbreakable element, while the other meteor was the green orb that they had stumbled upon. Imala tells him that these meteors had opposing energies, and that the green orb was an element that enhanced the malleability of life. It could create, change, and boost existing organic life, and the Moon Knight wanted this green orb to themselves in order to create new kingdoms. Imala then urges T'Challa to prevent the Moon Knight from getting their hands on the orb, while Khonshu and Ra capture a farmer from Wakanda and brainwash him into serving them. They also give him special powers and a brand new suit before sending him to Shuri's lab to secure the green orb. Shuri manages to kill him in the blink of an eye, but he manages to secure a chunk of the green orb before falling to the floor. As this issue comes to an end, the Moon Knight manages to teleport the farmer's body back to them and finally get their hands on a chunk of the green orb, much to T'Challa's horror. Powers and abilities of Ultimate Black Panther explored. After undergoing several treatments at the Weapon X headquarters, T'Challa's physiology was greatly enhanced, and he was essentially considered a mutant. He gained superhuman strength, speed, and a regenerative healing factor, and he was also fitted with artificial claws, which soon becomes one of his most identifiable features as the Black Panther. Black Panther's superhuman strength was said to be on the same level as Captain America's, and he had managed to spar and face Rogers on numerous occasions without losing his ground. He had also managed to defeat Thunderball with just a few punches, and he was highly skilled in martial arts after undergoing extensive training under Captain America's eyes. During his training, T'Challa also attained a mastery in the field of gymnastics and acrobatics, especially after his Weapon X transformation. He gained enhanced agility and speed, enabling him to move around at superhuman speeds while maintaining his coordination and balance. Captain America even commented on his speed and agility by saying that he was almost on the same level as him, and he additionally had enhanced stamina after the Weapon X program. In addition to these proficiencies, Black Panther had retractable claws fitted within his forearms, and he could make these claws pierce out of his knuckles by clenching his fists. The Weapon X program also helped him gain a regenerative healing factor, which was inarguably not as fast as that of Wolverine, but still pretty effective. He could recover from wounds faster than humans, but this healing factor was lacking in some ways, as T'Challa could not restore his vocal cords with its help. Last but not the least, he gained night vision and retained perfect visual clarity, even in the darkness of the night. Marvelous verdict. To wrap things up, Ultimate Black Panther truly makes for an interesting addition to the Ultimates universe. Despite starting his journey on a tumultuous note in Wakanda, he grew stronger and wiser with time as he established himself as a member of the Ultimates, and later, the New Ultimates. We hope you enjoyed diving into this alternate story arc with us. And do drop a comment and share your thoughts on this Earth 1610 counterpart of the Prince of Wakanda. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.